In this installment for the monthly Samurai and Ninja topic videos, I will be covering two pairs of extra armor pieces that could be added to the Do body armor for additional protection. These are the Sundan Nuita, the Kubino Ita, which those two together would usually form a pair, and the Gyoyo. The link to the playlist will be in the pinned comment below, as well as the main channel links for the other participants. Please go ahead and check out the list and their channels. I will begin with talking about the Sundan Nuita and Kubino Ita on Oyuroi. The earliest forms of Oyuroi did not have these, but in time they became a standard part of the Oyuroi Do. Oyuroi, or great armor, shown on the screen, was the typical style of armor for the mounted warrior elite from roughly the 10th through the early 14th centuries, although its popularity began to wane in the 13th century. Despite its eventual disappearance from the battlefield, however, this continued to be considered a symbol of warriors until the end of the samurai period in the late 19th century. Although it was almost completely removed from the battlefield around the early 14th century, it continued to be made for a number of other reasons. I will be making armor videos in the future that will explain this better. On the wearer's right side was the Sundan Nuita. It was constructed of hardened and lacquered lamellar boards tightly laced together, like the Osoday, the large shoulder guards. It protected the upper chest above where the do ended. Here there was an opening in the armor, and also the cords that secured the do. This was considered a good place to aim at to try to hit either the person or the cords, thus making their armor less effective. So the Sundan Nuita protected both the cords and the wearer. On the wearer's left side was the Kubino Ita. Both the Sundan Nuita and the Kubino Ita could provide some defense against arrows and even glancing cuts from edged weapons. The Kubino Ita tended to be narrower than the Sundan Nuita, and it was made from a solid plate. This was also used to protect the cords and the wearer on the left side of the chest, but there was also another purpose. The Kubino Ita was also meant to provide some protection to the left armpit. In mounted archery, it was preferable to get your enemy on your left and to fire in that direction. This facilitated firing the bow in the most natural position without having to try to cross over the horse or to fire at other unusual angles, although mounted archers were trained how to do those things. With the left arm out holding the bow, the underarm was exposed. The idea was that the Kubino Ita would move some in order to cover at least part of the left armpit, as shown in this illustration on the Gunbai website, also linked below. On screen now is an image of Haramaki style do. The Gyoyo were kind of their own thing, but also kind of a descendant of the Sundan Nuita and Kubino Ita in a way. They may have begun as small leaf-shaped shoulder guards on Haramaki style armor, although there seems to be disagreement about this. I'm not quite sure how much protection they would have provided. Although there were some variations in shape, they, for the most part, usually retained an at least abstractly leaf-like shape. As Haramaki and Domaru armor became more popular among the higher-ranking warriors, they would usually wear Osoday as shoulder protection rather than the Gyoyo. In time, smaller, less expensive Sodai were developed that could be worn on the Haramaki and Domaru of lower-ranking warriors. When the Sodai was used, sometimes the Gyoyo were completely removed from the armor, and in other cases they were moved to the front and attached to the shoulder cords, thus replacing the Sundan Nuita and Kubino Ita. This continued with the Tosekusoku of the Sengoku period, where some samurai chose to use the Gyoyo on the front of their do. While they did not provide much in the way of armpit protection, they did still provide some protection to the shoulder cords of the armor and the wearer. Eventually, the Sundan Nuita and Kubino Ita were almost completely removed or supplanted by the Gyoyo on anything but Oyuroi for a time. The Edo period, roughly the 17th to late 19th centuries, saw the return of the Sundan Nuita and Kubino Ita. This, though, was purely for decorative and nostalgic purposes. It was an attempt to connect to the warriors of the past who had been romanticized in the Edo period. There were a number of elements meant to emulate aspects of early armor, even Oyuroi in various sets of Edo period armor. The protective versus decorative purpose of armor in the Edo period remains one that is still debated. In the Edo period, the Sundan Nuita was made differently than earlier. Rather than laced together boards, They were made out of a single solid plate, lacquered, and made to look like it was laced together. Although the Sundan Nuita and Kubino Ita did reappear in a way, some still chose to use the gyoyo, and some chose to use nothing. And that concludes this brief video on the Sundan Nuita, Kubino Ita, and gyoyo. I hope you found it informative. If you did like this video, please consider leaving a thumbs up and subscribing. I look forward to your comments, questions, advice, criticisms, and discussions below. Please check out the playlist and other content creators involved in these monthly videos as well. Links to social media are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you will come back for the next video. Until then, take care.